You go ahead and roll the emergency announcement.
By way of the nearest stairwell in a safe and effective manner. If the nearest stairwell is blocked by smoke, use the other stairwell. Do not use the elevator. Once you've reached the main floor, follow the exit signs to exit the building and quickly proceed away from the building. Please be mindful of others evacuating and of emergency vehicles.
This time we'd entertain a motion to set the agenda. Carver, second. All in favor of setting the agenda, please say aye. Any opposed? Public input on any item on the agenda? Seeing no hands. Approval of the September 20th, 2016 minutes. Moved by Ms. Chris, second by Sheriff Perone. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, financial reports.
All right, in your packet you have our financial reporting for fiscal year to date through the month of September. So of course, with today being the last day of October, we don't yet have those numbers, but we'll have those for our next meeting. And we had a really good month in the month of September, which to me was a little surprising because we had an increase in our enrollment because the school new hires took effect on September 1st, so we actually had an increase of about 35 employees to the plan, but we had a decrease in claims. So it could possibly be that we have some claims that just have not yet processed for the month of September, but we had a total revenue brought in of $1,513,083.13, and our expenditures were $1,133,240.88, which left us with a positive balance of $379,842.25. So we had a good month in the month of September. And then our enrollment count for ending the month of September, we had 1,714 total employees with 3,694 total covered lives. So that includes all of the dependents, and then that does include retirees as well. Any questions on that? Oh, I do also want to say we did receive a notification from Employers Health and CVS Caremark, which is our pharmacy provider, and the second quarter rebates are in, and so they have they mailed us a check, and you'll see it when we see the October numbers next meeting. But we had rebates in the second quarter totaling $122,615.33. So our pharmacy plan is definitely working the way we wanted it to. So that's good news that we've got those rebates coming into us as well.
Are there any questions? Discussion and possible action on updates to the employee handbook.
Okay. Well, as you are aware, this our handbook was referred back to us from the commission meeting earlier this month, and so Some of the concerns that were addressed at the commission meeting were surrounding the vacation policy. And I'm going to pass these out. Mayor, if you would take one and pass that down. I have a proposal. On one side of the paper, you'll see what's currently in the handbook, and on the other side is a proposal. And so some of the feedback that I had received was to make some adjustments to change the vacation policy from a calendar year or calendar date to an anniversary date. And in discussing with some of the elected officials, they had also asked about a possible accrual-based policy as well, where employees would accrue vacation per paycheck instead of just getting a bucket every January 1st or on their anniversary date. So the policy that you see in front of you, the proposal, would kind of take both of those things and combine them. Now, obviously, Sheriff, this is not going to apply to your office because you all already have an accrual-based policy. So this is going to apply to the county, excluding the sheriff, and it also would exclude the library because they already have their own accrual-based policy as well. So this would encompass all of the other departments. It would take effect January the 1st, where we would then begin in the employee's vacation on their anniversary date of hire, and it would be an accrual basis based on the number of hours that they work per week and the length of service with the county. And I'll let you review it, and if you have any questions, you feel free to ask. But here's the chart there in the middle that shows you the years of service completed, what their annual hours of vacation would be, and then how that would break down per pay period if we were to accrue it. We're adding a couple of things that we don't currently have to our vacation policy, like allowing the employees to carry over up to 1 week, which of course would not exceed their weekly scheduled hours. So if they work a 37.5 work week, they could be able to carry over 37.5 hours. If they have a 40-hour work week, they could carry over 40 hours. And then at the discretion of the elected official or the department head, employees could be advanced up to 1 week of their vacation as well, so that if they have a vacation planned, earlier in the year before they get to that anniversary date, they could go ahead and kind of take that early, and then of course they would just pay that back with the vacation that they would be accruing in their paychecks.
Jenny,
Yes, sir.
the sheriffs and the library, are they the same plan?
They are not. The sheriff has a plan and the library has a separate accrual-based plan.
So if we do this, is this the same plan the sheriff has?
No, sir. The sheriff's handbook was included in the packet.
Okay, so we'd have multiple plans within our,
Yes. And they are currently in Chronos. So the sheriff's
right.
plan.
And that makes it easy because
Exactly.
Chronos fixes all that.
Right. Chronos administers the sheriff's office plan the way it is designed. It administers the library's plan the way that it was designed. And then it's administering our current plan, that way, the way that it was designed as well.
So we are giving elected officers the option to change this a little bit, or is this going to be set for all the rest of them?
This would be, if this is what we approve and we send forward to commission and they approve, this would replace the vacation policy in the handbook and would then apply to all of the other offices. So everybody under the mayor, register of deeds, trustee, circuit court clerk, county clerk, property assessor, all of the other elected officials.
So then if the library or the sheriff wanted to, these new items we have in here, if they wanted to pursue them, they'd be able to pursue that themselves.
They could. It's very similar. As far as carrying over a week, the sheriff's office currently allows their employees to carry a bucket. The libraries, their employees get to carry a bucket.
Okay.
Or I shouldn't say carry
So
a
they're
bucket, but
close.
carry a balance over into each year.
They're close then.
They are close. The concept is the same, you could say. Obviously, there's going to be things that are going to vary because of the nature of the business that each of those areas have, but the concept is the same. Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're very welcome.
Jenny, under this policy, if we have employees carry vacation from 1 year to the next, do they have a certain time the next calendar year to use it?
It would be by their anniversary date. So they would have to, if they carried over that one year. So let's say at the end of, my anniversary year, I have 50 hours of vacation that I've not used. Well, I can only carry over 1 week, so I would lose some of that vacation and could only carry over 37 and a half hours into my next year. Then I would begin accruing, just like the regular and your schedule says, and would accrue per paycheck to add to my 37 and a half hour balance. So it also kind of works on the flip side too. If I only have 10 hours left at the end of my year, I can carry those 10 hours over with me as well.
Now, my question is, how long then do they have to take that?
They have
That
their
10
whole
hours.
year. So if my anniversary date is August the 1st, I would have from August the 1st to July 31st to use it every year.
Okay.
So
you
it wouldn't
carry
go, it would no longer go from January to December. It's per employee, whatever their dates
So
are.
you can carry it 1 year at a time, but you can't carry it multiple years. So if I didn't use my 10 hours, my carryover until, if I didn't use it by my anniversary date, following year, do I lose it?
You would always go back down to that 1 week. So you
Okay.
would not, you would
So you
always
gotta
have-
use it.
You would use
The
it,
next
yes,
calendar, or next fiscal year.
Yes.
Well, from your
for
anniversary.
your anniversary date, right.
Okay.
What if your anniversary date is January the 5th? You only have 5 days in that next year to use that week?
No, it's from day to hire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, from date of hire. So you would have from January the 5th until January the 4th, essentially, of the next year to use it. We also added a note on here as well. Typically what we've done in the past upon termination of employment, we have paid out employees for the balance of their unused vacation. We've added a note that if someone is terminated for cause, we will not pay out vacation. So that's new. That was not in there before. And then one thing to note as well, because you're not getting a bucket where, at the time of a termination, somebody would only be paid out the vacation that they have accrued up to that point. They would not, receive 3 weeks if that's what the years of service completed that they're at. If they're at that mark, they wouldn't get the full 3 weeks. They're only going to get what they have accrued. And I believe it works the same way in the sheriff's office. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what you all do as well.
I'm not sure of that, but that's something they've already, I'm all for it, we have to terminate someone. But some of that is already earned in the past as they accrue it. So we already owe them that. I'm not wanting to pay anybody, don't get me wrong, for something, if I have to terminate them, but I think that's something already earned. We give them their last check that they've already worked, we pay them in the rear.
Could be.
So-
I've seen it done both ways. It's just something that we've added, so, yeah, that's fine.
If they've already earned it, how do we deny them? Would they not have recourse through a lawyer if they've already earned it?
You could, like I said, I've seen it done both ways in policies and procedures. So, I've worked in places where we had this policy where we didn't, pay out vacation if somebody was terminated for cause. And then I've worked places where we paid it out regardless. So, it was just something that we added. We talked about it with some of the elected officials. It was something that they had mentioned. So we added it. If you want it striked, someone can make that motion to remove it.
I sure don't want to have to, if it's for $200 or $300, I wouldn't want to go to court over $200 or $300.
I think Mr. Graves has a question.
Did we take into account, didn't we say that some people just work 30 hours a week and they're full-time? And also, what about the people that work 40?
Yes, thank you. I forgot to mention that. This chart that you see on the policy or the proposal is based on a 37.5-hour work week. So we do have offices like the highway department that works a 40-hour week. So we would adjust these hours accordingly because they work 40 hours and then they would get 80 hours, so forth and so on. And then we have a few people who are full-time and work 30 hours. So they would not accrue this much vacation. Theirs would be adjusted downwards as well. And I can add those to the policy, if you would like, before we pass the handbook on to commission. So somebody who works 30 hours a week, instead of accruing 30, like a 7.5 hours, they would get 6 hours for a day, because 30 divided by 5 is 6. So.
Mr. Lewis?
First of all, I agree with the mayor. You gotta have, I think we have to have language in here that directs the hours as to whatever position that is, but, and I don't know how, you probably need to take 37.5 out of here and put some kind of language that explains whatever their full-time schedule is. And I gotta also agree with the sheriff. I think if we have an employee who has accrued vacation, we'd have one heck of a time in court trying to take it away. So I don't know what kind of adjustment we need to make, but I think we gotta pay it if they've accrued it.
Mr. Chairman, I think we would just need a motion to strike that from the proposal. Is that correct?
That would be correct. Right now,
Do we
don't-
need that in the form of an emotion?
So right now, we don't have this on the floor yet, so we need to get this on the floor and then we can amend it. Ms. Tennant moves
Second.
the employee handbook updates. Who seconds? Discussion? Mr. Lewis?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would move to strike the sentence that says, if terminated for cause, no vacation time will be paid.
Okay, Commissioner Lewis moves to strike the sentence, if terminated for cause, no vacation time will be paid. Second by Mr. Graves. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, and call the roll, please.
Commissioner Lewis?
We're voting on the amendment, correct? Yes.
The amendment is passed. Any further discussion?
It's one question about, Jenny, you said, and it may be somewhere else besides here, about if you have carryover vacation time, that you have to take it within the next 12 months from the date you carry it over. Is there somewhere in our policy other than this, because it's not in here, that we state that? Right here? Have I missed it? Well, that says when you, it doesn't say when you have to use it by.
Says you can have up to when you
You're asking if they carry over a week, do they have to use that week by a certain period?
By the next 12 months from their anniversary date is
Well,
what
I
you
mean,
said.
I mean, they carry it over, so then it gets added into their accrual. So at the end of every anniversary year, they would have to have their balance back down to at least 37.5 or less.
Okay,
So it just becomes part of what they're accruing, and they can use it throughout their year. They just, at the end of their anniversary year, they would have to have their balance back down to 37.5 or less.
okay.
If they had 57.
Could the department head, if he so choose or she so choose, if at the end of that year, they could compensate the employee for that week instead of carrying it over? Would that be a department head decision? And what I'm thinking is, if you get an employee that gets to their 1-year anniversary date, and suppose they carried a week over from the previous year, and now they end up at the anniversary date that year, and they've got 2 weeks, they can't carry over but one. What happens to the other week that they've accrued?
If they don't use it, they would lose it.
They
But
would
we,
lose it?
if we could, if you want to add something to the policy that says at the discretion of the department head or elected official, they could pay that out. We could add that, yes.
Okay.
I mean, obviously it would have to be as long as their budget would,
Correct.
allow for it.
Correct.
Right.
I was just curious about that, because eventually that's gonna happen. At some point, that's gonna
Yeah.
happen.
But if they, and we have a use it or lose it policy now. So, I mean, if you don't use your allocated amount of vacation, you lose it.
I go back to that point, though, they've earned those weeks, so what do we do?
We have policy, it's use it or lose it. So if they don't use it, it's lost.
Sheriff,
The other, go ahead.
I was just say, of course, this doesn't affect us, but I agree with Grady 100% on that. If leave at the discretion of the office holder, if there is funds available for them to do it, or make an exception. We have a policy similar to this one, but we have had to bend it because of a shortage of manpower, workforce, so we had to ramp it up and up and up. Now we've got the point, this year we had to buy quite a bit back from our employees because we wouldn't let them take it off. And next year, the next 2 or 3 years, for us to get caught up, it's gonna take us buying it back from them. So I think it ought to be at the discretion of the office holder.
Sheriff,
Mr. Tennant?
what happens, but it's at your discretion, right? So you could treat different employees differently. Is that what you're saying?
No, I do not. Except their discretion whether we have the money or not. Now, they will not lose that working for the sheriff's office. We let them keep that, especially when they have tried to take it off, and we will not allow them
Right.
due to their mandatory staffing levels.
Right.
That's what I was talking about.
Oh,
on that
okay,
note.
because you have to have them. Right, I understand.
Okay.
What I'm concerned about, guys, is if you have to be careful, because I may allow Mike to do that and may not allow someone else to do that, if you understand. If the policy has to be, if we do that, every employee would have to have the same rights, except, I understand your situation. So I don't want to get your situation messed up with our situation. Does that make any sense?
Yes. Ms. Crisp?
What I think, we're gonna have to have the employees be accountable. Rather than lose that week, they would have to submit, if we gave them the opportunity for us to buy it back, they would have to submit to us the request to be paid out. If they don't, it's not my responsibility to keep up with their time, because Kronos is doing that. That's their responsibility to go in there and look, and it's like, uh-oh, I've got this week. I'm gonna lose it, or I'm gonna ask them to pay me for it. But they're gonna have to request for that pay. See what I'm saying? Because if
Yes.
it was to slip through, I didn't notice it or whatever, then they're gonna blame me.
Sheriff,
And Tom's right, I don't need to get this confused, and this is not my thing, but say Phyllis is fully staffed for 1 year, and people has not taken it over, then you don't have the funds where I pay mine is about a kind of a salary line item. You know, if I had full staff, I wouldn't need the overtime. They wouldn't have to have that vacation time built up and other things. But if you're fully staffed, then you're gonna have trouble finding the funds if they just don't take it, right?
Ms. Chris?
Well, no, the money would be there for their vacation. I mean, we could, well, ooh, I see what you're saying.
Not necessarily.
That's right,
That's true.
that's right. You're right.
Mr. Lewis?
Well, I think for the most part, outside of the sheriff's department, where we're under mandate to provide those hours and those folks for public safety, most of our other departments have enough staff to where, I mean, our folks should be able to take their time off. That's why it's time off. They don't need to be working. They need to be resting. Where we're short, the sheriff's department's a whole different animal, but for most of the rest of the county, it really shouldn't be an issue.
Any further discussion? I believe Jenny changed on, if you wanna,
I did. While we were discussing, I added to the policy the charts for employees working a 40-hour work week and also those employees working a 30-hour work week. So on the master copy of the policy that you have in front of you, there have been added those charts to reflect so that the employees will know what their accruals are based on the hours they work per week.
Mr. Graves?
Yes, on the example at the bottom, is that the example, should that say August 14, 2016? Was that example for the,
I was just using that as, it doesn't really matter what your hire date is. It was, if your hire date, could be 12 years ago or whatever.
Okay.
Because this policy would take effect January the 1st of 2017, from January the 1st to the day before your anniversary date, you're gonna accrue per pay period to use by that, the day before your anniversary date. And then on your anniversary date, you have then 1 full year to use what you are accruing from that point forward.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any further discussion? Okay, this is an amendment to the handbook. This is a change from our original, right? Okay. So we would vote on this and then vote on the handbook.
Well, we don't want to approve it as written, we want to approve it with what I've added. Because if we approve it after written, it doesn't.
Okay, you added 30 and 40, we're out.
This, what's on the.
So does everyone understand what we're voting on? You want me to read the whole thing? What we're voting on is the handout that you were given, striking, if terminated for cause no vacation time would be paid. Yeah, the line stated no vacation time. It didn't say accrued, but your point's well taken. And then Ms. Morgan added the 30 and 40 hour to the chart. Did that answer your question, Mr. Carver?
I added a chart just like the one that you see that has the accrual rates for a 40-hour work week and then a chart for the accrual for a 30-hour work week. You just don't see those. You can't see them, sorry. It's on my computer. But it's, I'll send this out to you, of course, as soon as we're done. But how we calculated these accrual rates, just so everybody understands, is you take the number of hours annually that they are eligible for, and you divide that by the number of pay periods that we have. So for that 6 month to 1 year years of service, they're only gonna have 13 paychecks in that time period. So you take 37.5 divided by 13. And then from there on, it's 26 checks. So every number is divided by 26 checks.
Any further discussion? Okay, we're voting on the new proposal for the annual leave vacation. Call the roll, please. So approved. That is the amendment. Now we would, any discussion on the handbook as amended? Jenny?
So this was the only change to what we had in the handbook from the last time we met, because this was the reason that the handbook was referred back to us from commission, was because of the vacation policy. So nothing else in the handbook was changed from our last meeting to this one. So it's as it is, or as it was last time, it's how it is in your packet this time.
So we would need a motion to approve the handbook as amended and refer it back to the commission. Sheriff. Sheriff moves, second by Mr. Stinnett. Any discussion? Call the roll, please. All approved. Next item on the agenda is the open enrollment update.
Yes, just an update to let you know that we completed open enrollment. It was held from October the 3rd through the 21st in Kronos. We had enrollers, benefits representatives on site at all of our locations to assist our employees. It was a passive enrollment, so if they didn't want to make any changes, they didn't have to do anything. Everything will stay the same. But we have completed the enrollment. Not a lot of problems. The biggest question we got was, what's my Kronos username and password, that people had forgotten or couldn't remember. So it was very smooth. We had good participation from our employees in doing that. And Jody and I are now working to process everything that was out there so we can get everything ready and get it to the insurance vendors for cards and everything to go out on by January the 1st. So open enrollment went very well this year.
Any questions? Next item on the agenda is discussion of the stop loss renewal for January 1, 2017. Mr. Harris, you recognized? You can turn that around. There you go. We'll pay you extra for that.
No, it's not working.
We're gonna have to.
Oh, well.
All right. So we're just going to go over the recommendations and then the reinsurance renewal. Next slide. So recommendation is to keep the stop loss as is for 2017. Something I don't have noted here is year to date you've had one person hit or exceed their stop loss. And in looking at the remaining, you have around 10 that have exceeded 150,000, but no one has come close to the 250, and the majority of those that have exceeded 150,000, the majority of their claims were in the beginning of the year. So we're looking pretty good right now for the year from a stop loss perspective. Next slide. So originally we spoke back in July, I believe, and our first renewal that came back was at 15% of an increase. The second came back at 8%. We did shop it out with all the other carriers, and you still don't have anyone that is really chomping at the bit to go after your business, but we were still able to leverage just the existing claims to keep it at a rate hold for the year. Essentially, you'll see it's actually a slight reduction. And the employee count is as of the last time the data was pulled from HM Life, so it's probably not going to match exactly to your current enrollment. But you'll notice that on an annualized basis, we're looking at a net reduction of close to $4,000 if the enrollment stays the same. So a slight reduction, but still a reduction nonetheless, and no increase for the year. So we're looking at for this year, we should be pretty good. Obviously, from a stop loss perspective, this would keep the stop loss limit at $300,000 and will help us out for next year should we have any kind of claims for next year. So.
Any questions? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll need a motion to move this. Sheriff, Mayor. Any discussion? Call the roll, please. All approved, thank you. Next item on the agenda is public input on items not on the agenda. Seeing no hands. We stand adjourned till January.